Welcome back. I guess I should say welcome back, but welcome to the very first, probably the only, MSI 2022 University of Oregon DTV Esports League of Legends podcast.
Let's go.
Ooh,
Yeah. Woo. I'm Eddie. Some people call me Fun Phoenix. I'm joined by some lovely people over here.
Yep. My name's Jake. I go by Skelly or Skelly Bro.
All right, my name's Drake, not Jake. I go by Jixel, I guess.
Okay. My name's Hunter. I'm a silver analyst, so none of my opinion actually matters. And but I go by Hunter the Gamer Online. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that's us.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about MSI, right? So, let's just start off. What do you guys think of the MSI format? Because we had the round one. We had the 8 best of ones in your groups, and then cut to round 2. Which is top 6, and then they'll cut to the knockout stage, which is just it's the top 4 remaining teams in a single elim bracket. What do you guys think of the format?
I mean, the names are pretty confusing. I'll say that first. Yeah, silver take here. The names are confusing. Rumble stage, group stage, knockout stage. It's like, oh,
I love Rumble. That's my favorite champion.
I mean, we saw him last year, Rumble in the jungle, and I mean, Carrier did play one game of Rumble.
Oh,
I think
the Ghost Cleanse Rumble.
Yeah, I mean, like my friend Romeo played Rumble after that. Someone's like, "You just like Carrier." He's like, "Oh, I don't want to do this anymore." He's all like self-conscious about himself. Anyways, in terms of the actual like formatting itself, I mean, like with tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 groups and like how you're organized and whatnot. I mean, it was clear that when the groups are actually made, like who the teams were like possibly going to be, with the exception I want to say of Saigon Buffalo in terms of like them actually like how well they like can perform, because they were obviously not the number 1 Vietnam team, the number 2. So yeah, I guess they were like the only question mark in terms of like where they'd actually get placed. But besides that, everything kind of went to what it seemed like in the first group stage, and then obviously things now are getting more spicy here come Rumble stage now. So
yeah, I think best of 1 is super boring. Like personally, I just don't like best of 1 very much.
I thought of an analogy, right? After we're seeing all these Rumble games, best of 1 is like fast food, right? It's like you can get it, you can eat it. Like it's not gonna taste like super good, but it will fill you up, right? But like what I'm wanting to see now is like the main course, like the A5 like Wagyu beef, like best of 5 I can get with like a G2 versus a T1 or like T1 RNG. Like I just like can't wait for that, because I mean, after all these games, it sounds like super entertaining to watch.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The going into more best of 3, best of 5s type stuff rather than just seeing those best of 1s. Yeah, it definitely makes it more interesting to see the different types of picks coming out and the bans in the like next games based off of the first ones, rather than just those like best of 1s where it's just like kind of anything goes really.
Yeah, I think maybe I have a little bit more of a negative attitude towards it. Like, I like the best of 1s, I like the best of 3s, I like the best of 5s, but I feel like the best of 3s and 5s aren't going to be much different than the best of 1s. Like, it's just going to be a 2-0 or a 3-0. Like, I feel like the format is so top-heavy. Like, the bottom teams just stand no chance. It's just kind of boring to watch, I guess.
Yeah, definitely, especially in like the first round where there were these super minor regions against like T1, against G2, as we've seen, like they just didn't win a single game the entire tournament essentially. And regardless of whether or not you want to make a comment on like how that would affect the team in terms of like wanting to improve, I think it's just boring from a spectator standpoint, where you just like, if we see T1 playing against, I remember who was in their group, but like the Oceania team, like we all know T1's gonna win that game. It's just so boring, and then we have to watch it 8 times. I guess that matchup would be 4 times.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be interesting at first, because the first game it was T1 Saigon Buffalo, and that the Saigon Buffalo bot lane picks Tristana and gets first blood like almost instantly. I'm like, as a Trist player, I'm like, this is unlosable lane, right? And then I realized I know it's Gumayushi Kiria, and then Lucian Nami just dominates the lane after that, and I'm like, okay, like maybe this is actually going to go to par. I thought for a second there, because like I'm kind of a T1 fan. I'm kind of like a G2. I kind of flop around. Someone called me a bandwagon, which is very sad. but
maybe not too far from
but dude, I like, it was a fall from grace that first game versus Saigon Buffalo for T1, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's over. T1 sucks. 35 ping. Oh my god, like this is actually happening. Like, oh my gosh, man. But yeah, not too surprising in terms of how the groups actually went. I wanted to see more of EG like try things and like be different, because it seemed like G2 was doing that, and to an extent like T1, like RNG, these top teams were like, okay, like let's open up the book, let's try a bunch of different things, see what works. And it seemed like EG was only really willing to do that versus Order, and I guess versus Saigon yesterday. So
yeah, I mean, storylines going in, for sure, it was T1 didn't drop a single game, all of LCK. Super impressive. It is, of course, just Spring Split, so not like the craziest thing, but still, being able to not drop a single game in a major region like LCK, super impressive. They were 100%. I think it'd be hard-pressed to find somebody that didn't say T1 was the favorites.
yeah, for sure.
And, I mean, spoilers alert for anybody that hasn't seen first week, I guess second round, but T1 lost. They lost to G2 first game.
Yeah, I mean, it was insane, because it seemed like T1 was doing what T1 always does, which is get an insane early gold lead and like dominate side lanes. And once like Gumayushi was able to like get an early pick on the Tristana, which again, I will save the Tristana rant for later. I was like, okay, this game might be over, kind of a thing. But G2, you know, they fought back. Good team fighting by them, and they were just able to get it done there. I mean, again, I'll talk more about that Tristana pick later. As a Trist main, you know, I'm not gonna call myself the Yodel Lord. That's pretty cringe, but yeah, I am silver. So
yeah, I think that game was really something to watch, especially in draft. Seeing the Kalista pick come out in that first lock-in from G2 was really interesting, and then like following up their just entire comp was just centered around that, like Diana engage with her ult, followed with the Yasuo Ornn knockup. You know, every single one of their champs had that knockup potential. They really had kind of that Exodia comp for the Yasuo pick on caps, and that was just like, come like mid to late game, there was just not a lot to be done for the side of T1.
And that's what I like. That's what I liked seeing from G2 that I didn't like seeing from EG. EG tried to do this like Diana Yasuo comp, but with like a Jhin, Leona. Obviously, like Impact's been playing Gwen really well, and like with their game versus RNG, it seemed like they kind of wanted to do the same thing, where it's like, okay, let's get this like Diana Yasuo fed, you know, from like from early game, and then we can see what happens come like late game time. But it seemed like they had like an identity crisis a little bit. It seems like EG in itself is having a little bit of an identity crisis, as like they mainly played through their bot lane, but now that their bot lane isn't like up to par like they thought they were against these like other teams, like it's been kind of crazy to watch, because obviously we saw in like the LCS, if anyone actually watches that,
joke region.
Yeah, exactly. But it's insane how we saw this transition from bot side focus to now just like top side Impact and Inspired just like fully carrying. So pretty crazy, but I don't know, we're jumping around a little bit.
Well, I mean, it's a podcast. We got nowhere to be. Nowhere to be. Just talking about the talk, I guess. But yeah, EG. I mean, they didn't win a single game against G2 in the first round. Of course, everybody's joking that of course G2 is the best team in the world because they beat T1. So EG actually had the hardest group. Classic. But I think I don't have high hopes for EG. I think EG, if they make it to the final round, it will be in 4th seed, or not at all.
For sure. And so, do you think T1 is 1st seed? Or I'll open up the discussion.
It's an interesting question.
I think that T1 is probably still... I think they still have the edge, because I don't know, like in that game, they were ahead 5k gold at like 17 minutes. They did what T1 does best. They get first Herald, they get all of the tower plates. I feel like once they put together the idea of like, oh, these teams can actually fight against us in the mid game, and they can build comps that will, like, sure, we'll be down 5k gold, but we'll still be able to wombo combo scale.
Yeah, their early game pressure definitely was something to see there, and I think one of the casters even was taking notes on how many turret platings Guma had actually taken, and I think like before plating fell, he had 9 total plates taken between bot and top turrets, which was a lot of gold.
Yeah, I think it was like 2,000 like gold lead in the bot lane at 15 minutes.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Right.
Like, I feel like you shouldn't be losing that game, but then it's like, oh man, you should be losing that game, then you actually lose it. But like, really, T1, like, gosh, man.
Thinking they were sort of like the untouchable Titans, and I mean, I very, very much feel like the Titans sort of bled this weekend, yesterday. Like they had what looked like the same sort of similar lead that they had against a lot of these other teams that they were playing in the group stage, and then they just lost to G2, and maybe they were having an off day. Of course, it's still best of one. There could be a number of factors, but I think overall it was disappointing from the narrative of T1 is not going to drop a single game this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the boat too that like T1 was going to win, but I was like, oh man, if G2 wins the first game, they're winning the second game versus RNG. Just because sure. like G2 just like plays off that high, and I'm so glad to see Caps actually like doing well again. Like Caps never really like fell off in the sense, because it's like sad because like he's still always like a top 4, top 5 mid laner in the LAC, which like that's a stacked like lineup of mid laners, and so like even being top 5 is like nothing to like be like sad about at all. But like I honestly think Caps has just been the best player of this tournament by far. Like it's insane to see like just like the level of outplays that like he's able to do against like certain teams, and like just like being absolutely fearless on these picks, on the Yasuo, on the Zoe, and just like being able to like execute just every micro play so well. Like gosh, it has been such a pleasure to watch Caps. It reminds me of like 2019 G2 in the sense like when they went against RNG, it was like it reminded me of like how Perks and Mickey in the bot lane were just dominated like the RNG like Uzi bot lane from like the old past, like you're not gonna beat this team, and like I'm just surprised to see like Flackett and Targamas like just being able to transition so well. Like obviously Caps I think is like been the best player this tournament, but like Flackett and Targamas, like this is your first year playing, and like you're doing this to RNG, like you're doing this to like T1. Like I mean like obviously like they died in lane to T1, but like it's insane to like killer instinct that they have. Like I'm genuinely impressed, and I think that like now there's a world in which like G2 felt like the dark horse going to this tournament to win, and it was like, oh man, like it's probably gonna be T1 RNG in the final, but like now it's like we have some real games on our hands now that like G2's like showing up and showing out.
I mean, I would barely even call G2 like a dark horse. I think people, if you told somebody I think G2's gonna win the tournament, they would have laughed at you.
Yeah.
Like before the group stage, they would have been like, yeah, that's a good joke, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was just not. I don't think it was something that a lot of people that were very familiar with what was going on in the different regions would have been like, yeah, for sure G2's got a chance. Like nobody would have said that.
Yeah, I agree. G2's nothing to scoff at now that we've kind of seen what they're capable of. Being undefeated the entire tournament is definitely a major feat, especially against those major teams. They obviously dominated their group stage, which, you know, it wasn't like too big of a deal because they were definitely the number 1 team in that group. But like going into just like every game that they've played so far, now in the Rumble stage, they are definitely, you know, like you said, showing up and showing out for sure.
Yeah.
No, it's exciting to see the G2 bot lane do what the G2 bot lane did in the old times. Like the Mickey X, he had those mid roams, and I feel like the Targamas is able to do that, and he's able to play around the legendary Jankos Caps duo.
Yeah.
Which is just like what that team is known for.
Caps is 9-3 against Faker lifetime.
That's the score to brag. That's what you put on your Twitter profile.
Yeah, that's definitely a resume maker right
Oh my gosh, I'd be such a JoJo if I was Caps right now. But that's why we love Caps, right? Because he's gonna be like the nice guy, be like, yeah, like I love playing against Faker. It's always a pleasure, whatever. When like if JoJo was to like, which we haven't seen EG versus T1, but if JoJo somehow, some way kills the unkillable Demon King in Faker, like. That's going on. That will actually go on the Twitter bio. They'll be like, yeah, just like
solo kill Faker.
Yeah, I'm ready to see the tweet. It's all about the solo kill Faker.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The Twitter beef definitely is a lot of fun.
The only thing EG has brought to this tournament has been fantastic tweets from JoJo Pyun.
No, JoJo's for sure a fan favorite. I know a lot of people get toxic at his tweets, but they're just so entertaining. Like the day before, he's like ready to kick ready to kick G2 to the ground, ready to destroy. Like, there's so many just great tweets.
It's definitely a memer, for sure.
Yeah, how do you think JoJo's performance has been so far this tournament? Because it just felt like he's like been there, right? Like I feel like Danny and Vulcan, to like go on like a little tangent, like obviously like Danny and Vulcan have like not been performing like they have been, but like it just seems like JoJo like hasn't really like done too much in the sense like he's like I'm not saying he's like played bad, but like it's not been anything where it's like, oh my gosh, like baby Faker 2.0 like incoming or whatever. Like some people were like trying to hype him up. I feel like that's just kind of been like JoJo's season this far. To rant a little bit about JoJo, like he's just like been there and been someone who's like not messed up.
He definitely feels very nervous. Like watching his laning phases, in LCS, he's a very aggressive player. Like, he's playing for the solo kills, he's playing for the leads. Watching him in this MSI tournament, he's playing a little bit farther back in lane. When he does walk up, he like hesitates. He's like, oh, I'm gonna go for this aggressive trade. But he just hesitates, and then he gets caught by the support and jungle. He gets caught by those roams. He's definitely not. I feel like he's playing with a little bit less like seriousness, not really a seriousness, just like less poise, less aggressiveness. Yeah.
Actually, it's the 35 ping. That's what you don't understand.
Cope.
35 ping chilling.
Yeah, I think I would agree with your point, Hunter, on the bot lane, but I also think Keria and Gumayusi, despite, I think everybody would say Keria is the best support player in the world right now. I think a lot of people would say Guma is the best AD carry player in the world right now. And they haven't been that impressive to me. I mean, like, they're doing Keria Gumayusi stuff, right? Like, they're getting their solo kills, but I feel like I expect them to be doing maybe even more than what they're currently doing. And maybe some of that comes down to AD carries a role that actually is legitimately impacted by the 35 ping.
Yeah, I mean, it to almost make the comparison to like back in the LCS with Hans Core JJ. It was like, it just feels like this bot lane should just be taking over and just winning lane every single time, right? And like in the games that they played against, I'm like totally blanking now, even though I have it right up. I guess when they played against G2, I think it was RNG, or not RNG, but PSG. Yeah, that they played against. It just like, it feels like they would win lane, but like classic T1 is to basically like kind of play through their bot lane, right? Like basically they wanna have this like scaly kind of like late game bot lane. Like you're seeing a lot of Caitlyn bans, right? Like in the LCK, Gumayusi was like a monster on Caitlyn. Like if he gets fed at all, it's game over, right? But like it seems like T1 has just gone into this like format where they just want to play so much early game, and they think that they can just win through side lanes and just win through like these kind of mid game team fights to where they could just end the game in like 25 minutes. And we're just not really seeing the like focus and pressure like come with the bot lane. It just seems like, oh, okay, you're just gonna be the best bot lane, do whatever you're gonna do. I'm not gonna like, owner's not gonna come down and really like help them out. You're just gonna win lane. But like they're not really being set up for success at all. So I mean, it's been like a little bit disappointing, but I think come like knockout stage where it's the last four teams, I think you're going to see a lot more like prio towards the bot lane, and like, okay, we're actually just going to play through this, because that is, I legitimately think it's the best part of T1, right? And you have Faker on the team, which is very scary, right? If Faker's on the team and like is maybe number 3, like best, even like owner's been like showing up and showing out. So gosh, man, that T1 team's scary, but then they lost. So
they're so good.
I guess the only question I have for that is, do you think they're not performing so well right now because of their win streak? Do you think the pressure's like kind of destroying their... Because I remember there's a lot of, in the interview, the T1 interview versus Gen G, they were talking about like how this like pressure of the win streak is really affecting their play and their ability to play solo queue, their ability to like practice too.
Yeah, I feel like it seems like with this team that it always feels like there has been pressure, and there has been like a lot of talking about this team. Even when they went and they didn't drop a single game or a single series rather in the LCK, there was always people being like, you never really had to play against like peak Gen G, right? They finally did in the finals, but then it was like, I think they lost the first game, but were able to come back and like win it in the end. It just seems like there's always something to be talked about with T1, and even though like they're having such great success, and it feels like here on the West we're talking about, oh, like this team's great, like maybe in the East and like in South Korea and like on forums and whatnot, it's like they're like receiving just like a decent bit of hate just because like I mean, especially now that they lost to G2, right? I mean, now it just like maybe it's like something in their heads, right? Where it's like, like this feels like 2019 all over again, where like we could win, but then G2's here to stop us. But I definitely do think pressure has been there, and I think they needed to lose a game, and I think this was a good game to lose, because now it's like, okay, like we need to kind of like, instead of just playing early game, hey, we can beat every single team because we're better than them, maybe we should like play a little bit back, play maybe more for mid game, more for scaling, and just do what we do best, which is play through bot lane. So I do think the like anxiety, or maybe I won't say nervousness like too much is like there, but I just think that like they were just so used to playing one style that now it's like, okay, they're going to be more open to playing different things, and then we're going to see T1 just like, I think, take over again.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're very, like, I think there's definitely something to be said about the pressure of just, like, by being on T1 as a team, that is, like, probably the most popular League of Legends team in the world.
Yes.
And so, like, there is just a lot of pressure that comes with that. And even though, and, like, you're playing with Faker, like, that, like, there's pressure that comes with playing with Faker.
You gotta live
certain,
up to that, yeah.
Right, exactly. And even though, you know, Faker and Zeus have been playing for a number of years, like, I think Keria and Guma are both still relatively young players, just in general, in terms of league.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think even though they've had, well, I think, like, they've been on T1 for a full split now, I think, like a full year almost. But there's still, I'm sure, pressure that comes with that. Maybe it's again, I don't know the actual numbers, but this might be like their first MSI on T1. That could also play into it. They're playing in Korea, you know, a lot of home field pressure to feel from that as well. So I think they've got a lot of pressure, a lot of expectations on the team. And I agree with you. I think if they're going to take a loss, this is not a bad loss to take.
Yeah, absolutely. Even in like a post-game interview with, I believe it was Caps actually interviewing Yankos, they were talking about what it's like to lose a game at MSI with those really high stakes. And they honestly said that taking a loss is actually sometimes better than winning a game if you're on those really big win streaks, just so that it kind of forces you to take a step back, reset, kind of think about what you're going to be going to do going forward, and just kind of like readjust your game plan, kind of build up that groundwork again, just so that you have a better sense of just where you're going to be at in the tournament and what you're going to be doing against that team and any other team that go on.
Yeah, and I think Caps brought this up too, where it's like because they're on an insane win streak. Because I don't think they dropped the game since they lost their first like BO3 and LCS or LEC playoffs. And I mean, he brought up like a good point where they've been losing a lot in scrims, and they've been losing a lot in solo queue. You know, Caps goes to Craps in solo queue and in scrims, but it goes to Claps when he actually plays versus Faker versus everyone else. But yeah, I think that's like a good mindset too, where it's like, hey, we're trying these things in scrims and solo queue, and like we're losing, so it doesn't really feel like we're on this like massive like win streak. But like at the same time, maybe the other team's thinking about it. They're not thinking about it, but like they're like, hey, we have G2 who hasn't lost a game since like a month and a half ago, right? I can only assume like the amount of pressure which is on the other team, right? Mm-hmm. Especially now that they beat T1. Like imagine going against G2 now. It's like
that's scary.
Oh my god, yeah.
I think like it'll be really interesting to see now that the only two remaining undefeated teams are G2, RNG. We're gonna see them play tomorrow morning, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I will check that real quick.
All right, we got Jake on the stats here, making sure I'm not gonna lie to everybody here. But
yep.
I think it'll be interesting to see what the G2 RNG game looks like, because I don't believe they've played yet either. So, like, seeing these sort of undefeated teams that have had all these wins at MSI is, I think, one positive of this kind of format, where they play a bunch of games just within their group, and now we get to see them all play round robin against one another, and we see those 8-0 teams go against the other 8-0 teams. And it's exciting.
Mm-hmm. Before I want to make a bet, or not a bet, but a guess.
You're gonna guess.
Do they go? Is it Saigon or PSG? Are those the two teams that G2 face? If so, weird flex, but okay. I might be silver in game, but at least I know what this is.
Tomorrow morning is G2 is facing against EG, and then Saigon later on.
Okay. Yeah, not cool anymore.
But the G2 RNG game is actually happening on Sunday.
Okay.
So that'll be another game.
Didn't G2 and RNG play yesterday? I thought that was like if they go 2-0. Okay.
Oh, wait, did they?
I think that was the second game.
I stopped watching after the T1 game, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
No,
it was late, so
yeah, this
like
morning.
2 a.m.
This morning, G2 did beat RNG.
Okay.
Yeah.
So G2 is the only remaining undefeated team.
Yeah, and that win too felt like it was just more like it felt like that same kind of like with T1 that RNG like had this like early lead, but G2 were able to like bring it back a lot like cleaner instead of this like what felt like T1 just kind of pushing side lanes, not like just like trying to make a play, and then G2 was able to capitalize off that. I think G2 in that game played like just like a lot more standard, and we're just able to like come back a lot more cleaner. I don't know. I have notes on this. Just like the MSI, you got to take notes, right?
Yeah.
So
take notes.
Yeah.
Going on a completely different angle. Does everyone know what G2 stands for? I was thinking
Is
through.
it Gamers 2?
See, I thought
think it
Gamers 2 was like a different org, but that sounds right to me.
That's what I mean. I'm not sure at all. Jake can check it again.
I'll check it
Because
again.
because I
Trivia
know so
time.
RNG is Royal Never Give Up, and then SGB is Saigon Buffalo, but I don't know what PSG Talent is. I was thinking
I
about
do like
it.
Paris something esports, which makes it weird because it says like Paris and
probably
that's
Paris
like
something gaming.
Yeah, which is like when I think Paris, I think France, right? Obviously,
Yeah.
like so it's like it's
What
definitely not
region did
Carmine
they
Corp.
qualify from? You know,
No, very sad.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I only pay
Gosh,
attention
dude,
to the major regions and LCS.
yeah, we're all
so.
fired. Yeah. No.
Got it. G2 actually is Gamers 2.
Okay,
Okay,
interesting.
okay.
Yeah. Let's go, Drake.
Easy.
Drake got that one right.
Drake's
Yeah.
to go.
He
Gets a
Yeah.
point.
Okay, well, it's PSG Talent now. You got to look up PSG Talent.
Okay, I'm on it. I'm on
Okay.
it.
Yeah. But on a little like side topic that I want to cover, what's your whole opinion about the whole RNG thing? Is RNG really cheating?
I don't think
yeah,
they're
like
cheating. I think it's
the
cope.
meme or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's cope. I think it's maybe. I don't think it was maybe handled the best by Riot Games in terms of what they publicized about, like the ping system, and of course, eventually they did release something. I think a couple days ago about like detailing the systems that they had for creating the artificial ping and that sort of thing. But I do think the initial sort of ping, like RNG had to replay their first 3 games or whatever, like I think that's a bit unacceptable from a production from a standpoint of like this is the biggest the biggest esport in the world, I think, while also being one of the 2 international events you put on a year. Can you at least make them maybe not have to replay any of their sets because you messed something up? But I don't think they're cheating.
Cycling back to the PSG,
PSG?
real quick. Paris Saint-Germain is what it stands
Oh,
for.
of course.
Okay.
Of course.
I'm definitely gonna have to disagree with you there, Eddie.
You think they're cheating?
No, not that they're cheating.
Oh,
I think
okay.
that
Yeah,
I think
they
that it's
are.
Dang it, that would
From-
be way better for content. Right.
RNG dirty cheaters. No, I think that it's the right move by Riot Games. I think that the ping mistake is unacceptable in a way. Like Riot Games, they shouldn't be making. But I think that they have to replay the games. Like from a competitive integrity standpoint,
I agree with you.
it's just not fair. Like it is just an unfair amount of ping difference, I guess. But I think it's definitely a bummer for the viewers. Like
I just mean more like, why are we having to replay sets? Like I feel like that the unacceptable part is like we shouldn't have to be in a scenario where we have to replay our stats because we messed something up on a technical standpoint. But it's a game. Everything's not perfect. It's we've all seen our fair share of spaghetti riot code, so it doesn't necessarily surprise me. But it's a bit disappointing as a fan.
I mean, if you are an RNG fan, though, you can flex that in the group stage they did have a 150% win rate. So
Let's go.
Yeah.
let's talk about RNG for a second.
Okay.
Like looking at LPL, I don't know if any of you guys kept track of LPL games, but RNG, they don't actually seem like they were the LPL favorites. Like it was the team with Knight on them, the team with Scout. All the LPL best players aren't on RNG. So it's just like, how do you guys think RNG look compared to what people expected when they were coming into MSI?
I mean, to go off your point, I'm not like the biggest LPL enthusiast. I'm like LCK, LEC, LCS. Sadly, yeah, coming out of my mouth, it's even like, ugh, yeah, LCS. I actually watched this after Ellis left, but yeah, I thought it was really surprising. I forget which team it had, but like, yeah, you were talking about like Knight and
Top Esports.
yeah, Top Esports, right? I honestly like thought Top Esports were gonna make it out and Top was actually gonna play, but then like just like RNG kind of looked like how they did like last year in the sense like it felt like if we go back to last MSI if we look at that, like Damwon seemed like they were like going to be like the team to beat, and then RG comes and they win in the end, right? It's almost weird to think that a year from now, it's like, oh yeah, RNG was the last MSI winners, right? It seems like RNG's just kind of like played it like under the rug in a sense because like their world performance wasn't like anything to like scoff at, right? And so because I don't think not a lot of people actually like I'm not gonna say not a lot of people watch LPL because clearly they're like people that like do or whatever. But it just seems like LPL is just kind of like in this like weird like state, almost like the void in like league lore or whatever, where it's like it's here, it's scary, and like we don't want to talk about it or whatever. But I definitely did think that the LPL group was probably like the most boring to watch in my opinion. I don't know, just because there's not a lot of storylines coming out of the LPL in a way.
It just like I hate to say this, but it did kind of feel like a coin flip league. Like it felt like teams that were winning were just kind of winning when they were least expected to win, and like there was no consistent team throughout the entire league, like the entire spring split.
Yeah, I think that's why like the whole T1 thing was so impressive, was because like it just seemed like T1 was just like this team that like no one could stop, and because of the like unexpectedness and just like volatility of the LPL, it just seemed like okay, like the LPL is just there, and like they're scary, they're gonna win some games. We assume they're gonna like go against T1, right? But it never really like to me, like in what like I've watched or I've seen or I've heard, like it never really seemed like LPL was like, yeah, like we could be the Titans to take down T1, just because of like that versatility that has happened in the LPL.
Mm-hmm. I think part of that's also like, in my opinion, very much like English league Twitter, like League Esports, like that sort of community is very much more interested in LCS, LEC, and LCK.
Yeah. And
so we're sort of, in my opinion, I feel like I'm very removed from the LPL as a region. I just don't really know what the storylines are, what's happening. And so I sort of didn't have any expectations for RNG. I was like, all right. I mean, usually the LPL candidate is a strong team, so I wasn't surprised when they went 8-0. I think it would have been more interesting to see them in person, and would have had to not have the 35 ping issue. And I think I still don't really fully understand why. I think it has something to do with the Chinese government, but I'm not like too surprised that RNG has done this well so far. I'm not. I probably wouldn't choose RNG over T1 at the moment though.
I think that the LPL teams, they had the player base to absolutely like come in and dominate a lot of the other teams. Like I think they could have really shown like a strong standing against T1, against G2. Like I don't know how close the game was. I haven't actually seen the G2 RNG game yet, but I do know that the LPL players are insane. Like the players that they have some of the best top laners in the world. They have some of the best mid laners. Their junglers, their top 3 junglers are all really, really good. But I don't think that they put the players just are not all on the same team. It's just a little disappointing to see.
And I mean that's sort of how League works, right? Like we haven't really seen LCS, LEC, LCK. We haven't seen like super teams really ever work properly. In the few times they've been assembled, you definitely have like teams that have great players. Like maybe you could argue T1 has all of the best Korean players on their team, but I don't think anybody could make that argument about Evil Geniuses. I don't think anybody can make that argument about G2. Probably on a couple, like maybe Caps and Yankos are the best in their roles.
Yeah.
In LEC, but I don't know. It's just an interesting, like that idea of like what happens if you just put the 5 best players in your region on a team. Would it work or not?
Yeah, I was gonna make a Team Liquid joke there because I was like, oh yeah, the 5 best European players are on the NA team. Yeah, I guess besides Core JJ, but yeah, you do bring up a good point there where I mean to go over what like how like LCK scouting in a sense works. It's like a lot of people just wait for that T1 offer. Like a lot of like the top players get scouted and they're like, I want to be on T1, even if it's like I'm the 3rd string T1 guy. Then it's like their
3rd amateur team.
Like there's a chance, right? Like Gumi Yushi, who like waited for T1, gets on T1, and then like consistently is talking to management, being like, I'm better than like I'm better than the guy now. I'm blanking on the last T1 bot laner or whatever.
I think was it Teddy?
Yeah, it was
Teddy. Yeah, he literally
Teddy
was like
crazy.
Yeah, he was like, I'm better than Teddy. You're like, really?
He was on the 3rd amateur team, I think, when he said that too.
Yeah. And then we see now with Berserker, he was the 3rd seed on the amateur team, and then like comes into LCS and like
wins
dominate. Yeah.
I don't want to talk about Cloud9. I don't want to talk about Cloud9.
Yeah,
sad
this is an
story.
MSI
Yep,
podcast.
yep.
I don't want to talk about Cloud9.
We'll keep it happy.
Not like a Bible thump, like, oh no, what could have been?
R.I.P. Church 9.
So it lives on in our hearts.
Forever, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think if you guys had to pick one team, who do you think's going to win? I'm saying T1. Right now, who's winning MSI?
I'm hard pressed to say G2 honestly after what we saw yesterday, but I can see a T1 G2 final.
So you're calling G2 then?
I'm calling G2. Yeah.
Okay.
I have to say T1. Like, you just have to look at the numbers. You have to look at the players. I want G2 to win, but I think T1 will win.
It would be really exciting to see G2 win MSI, but I don't think they will.
As an American here, as a fellow American, as a fellow,
We're gonna point you to the door.
No,
Welcome back to the three-person podcast. 100% Evil Genius is going to win MSI.
If Danny and Vulcan can actually do something at lane, man, like, oh my gosh, no, as much as the meme would be to say EG, no, I'm in agreement. I think G2 is the honestly like the most exciting team to watch right now. So like maybe like my heart wants G2, right? But like up in my brain, I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. Still, like, yeah, they lost the game to G2, but like this, like you have the most dominant bot lane, the most like prestigious mid laner, Zeus who was just like crushing top laners, just like coming in, and Owner who's like found his form and won MVP for the LCK finals. Like it's hard to not say T1. Like this is the like cream of the crop, best of the best like team, and if they lose, then it will be a shock.
I think it's on T1 to lose MSI. It's not on anybody else to win it.
Agreed.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like they will have to lose the game themselves. That being said, Jojo Pune is one Faker solo kill away from winning MSI.
Yes.
So,
Just the confidence, man.
Yeah, he just 1v9s every game if he solo kills Faker. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at the lower end of the bracket, like you cut out G2, you cut out RNG, you cut out T1. I don't know if C9 is really lower end. I feel like they're kind of close to hitting the top, but they're still pretty. The lower end teams are still competing with C9. But who's your favorite for the underdogs?
Oh, do you mean EG?
Yes, EG.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
I was hearing C9.
Yeah, I got confused.
I was starting to have a migraine. Like,
I think it's actually kind of interesting between PSG and Saigon Buffalo and EG to see who will get that fourth spot. I think there is a world where EG does not make it to the final stage. That being said, I think they should make it to the final. I think they are the best team out of those three.
I thought it was interesting. I thought the EG Saigon Buffalo game, I thought that was like, okay, if EG lose this game, then there's like it's basically a coin flip, right? Obviously we haven't seen EG PSG, but we did see PSG Saigon, and I just think Saigon in that game completely like ruined the draft. That draft was like atrocious. They had like Volibear, Vigar into like they essentially had to like work around Vigar cage for like a stun, or like Volibear for a stun, and it was like, dude, this team comp sucked, right? Like I think it's a little bit of a coin flip. I do think that if Danny and Vulcan play like they did against Saigon Buffalo in the game that they played yesterday, where Danny was a little bit more aggressive on the Ezreal and was willing to like make plays, then I think yes, EG will take the fourth spot. But I'm still curious to see the EG PSG game, because like PSG did beat Saigon and EG also did beat Saigon, and I know a lot of people were like really hype on Saigon after their okay performance in like the first
strongly mediocre.
Yeah, losing to T1. I mean, yeah, like we almost beat T1 in the first 5 minutes, but yeah, EG PSG is gonna. I think whoever wins that game, to call it, was going to take the fourth spot.
Okay.
I'm gonna say that. Yeah, whoever wins that first game, we'll take it.
Like I said, I wouldn't be too surprised if EG does not make it, but I think they should.
Yeah, that's going to be real funny to watch EG versus T1 then.
Yeah, that'll be
fourth place, baby.
unexpected.
Fourth place.
Let's go.
Top four.
He needs his chance in the mid lane to solo kill.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, we need to see some more Twitter action live in game.
Yeah.
So it's just best of ones until the knockout stage, and then we see best of threes, best of fives.
I'm pretty sure it's. I mean, I want to say it's best of threes, and then maybe a best of five final. That seems. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a best of five final.
Is that?
I'm pretty sure that's what it is, but
okay.
I'm not quite sure yet.
Do you think best of 3 like benefits any teams more than it hinders them, I guess, or do you think it's just pretty much identical to best of 1?
I think it benefits the top 2 teams.
Yes,
I think it benefits, or like a best of 5 would extremely benefit T1 and an RNG. I think a best of 3, it's still like who knows, maybe G2 could do it kind of a thing, but I'd be hard pressed to like see T1 actually lose a best of 3.
Yeah.
They haven't.
You'd be called insane to pick T1, or you'd be called insane to pick EG over T1 in a best of 1. You'd be called delusional if you tried that in a best of 3. Like, I mean,
yeah.
I don't see T1 dropping 2 games to any of the bottom 3 teams.
Agreed. No.
Yeah. Going back to scheduling stuff for the schedule is not out yet, obviously, for the knockout stage, so we can't see what that format's going to be looking like. But when that does come out, I will hopefully be able to get some info.
Next podcast.
Yeah. There's like
if there's a second episode, we will.
Hey guys, Jake here, just letting you know, just coming in for only 15 seconds.
Yep.
So it actually all is best of 5, right? Anyways, thanks for listening.
Hashtag YouTube Shorts.
Put it on the TikTok.
Yeah,
there we go.
Where's the UO Esports TikTok? That's what I want to know.
Gosh, man. Oh my God. I'm just gonna stop talking about TikTok. Yeah, no, I had like a run on anime TikTok. Yeah. The more you know for the next UO Esports podcast. God.
So MSI.
Yeah, back to circling back.
Yeah.
I mean, does anybody have any like broader thoughts? Like, do you? I know I sort of opened with this, but do you guys like this format? Do you dislike the format? Do you not really care? What do you know? Thoughts?
From a viewer standpoint, I think best of 1s are entertaining. I think best of 3s have more competitive integrity. I think that the format is really hard to make more entertaining because I just think MSI in general is not a very entertaining thing to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that the teams are just way too top heavy. It's just not. It just doesn't feel competitive.
That's pretty based.
Yeah.
I would say that's a base take. I can understand. I could like to go on that point because I'm interested to talk about that and like is MSI really interesting to watch. I think it is though at the end of the day, right? Like it seems like in that first stage, yeah, it could be like, oh, like we kind of know who's gonna like win these games, right? It is very top heavy, but at the same time, like this is when like innovation, where like we did see with like Cloud9 at the beginning of the year, like this is where innovation like really comes out to play, which is what like I like seeing, right? Like last year it was Morgana jungle, Rumble jungle, Lee Sin in literally every lane, and like it was like, wow, this is interesting to watch because like this doesn't happen, right? Like this isn't something that like I'm used to. And so here I'm going to make reference to this. Wukong jungle, finally, Eddie, finally. I remember saying I want to see some Wukong jungle in these in the games that we casted, and finally I've been able to see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really like seeing Wukong jungle. I still want to see a little bit more like versatility. It sucks that like the like premier picks or like the picks that are like, oh wow, like these are like some new and like fancy like oh man, like these buffs came out, like they usually like will get banned in the first 6 bans, but it's been nice to see just like different team comps and like different champions go through rotation, and I like seeing like that as like both a viewer and a player, because it's like, oh my gosh, like I didn't think the Lucian buffs were as crazy as they were, to where in the first game, even though they were losing lane against a Fed Tristana, Lucian Nami just takes over that lane, and like Lucian, it's just become 100% pick ban. Like
it's been fun seeing the really aggressive bot lanes become really popular. Like we've seen so much Tristana, so much Samira, so much Lucian in these first few, this first week. It's been sort of exciting and a nice break from the Jinx Ophelios meta where everybody was power farming to 16.
Yeah.
Don't forget the Callista pick.
I hate Callista. I hate that. That champion is so bad. Don't ever pick it. It's so bad.
Yeah, but so to give like a TLDR, I do think it's like I can see why it would be like relatively like boring at times to watch because it seems like, okay, what are really the stakes? Oh, you won MSI. We're going to take notes about you now. And then I don't think there's ever been an MSI team that's won that hasn't made Worlds, but maybe if there was some stakes added where it's like, oh, you get a spot for Worlds or something like that, like maybe people would be like, okay, like I'm more invested in this. But just like I do think there is some entertainment value there, and it's nice to see after such a long time where like different teams from different parts of the world are able to actually come and compete in person. I do like that with crowds. So I mean, I still think Worlds is a ton more fun to watch, but like I think MSI is still a relatively like decent tournament to watch. I don't know, maybe if I've watched the league for like the last like 6 years, I'm like, oh, MSI is around again. Like this sucks. I just want to see Worlds, but yeah, so maybe I'm on some like hopium a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. So current presence wise, looks like Ari has 100% pick ban, Lucian has 100% pick ban, and then Wukong has 93, LeBlanc has 81, and Gwen has 76. So I mean, like, I think it's sort of been interesting to see, you know, Ari come back into the meta after her mini rework. She went from being really bad to sort of being this really safe, you know, roam heavy, you know, pick heavy, like Trister Fox that her character is, I guess. I don't know. It's just been interesting to see like champions like that come back into the meta after small changes, like the Wukong being able to go over walls for a jungle clear.
Yeah, and then definitely seeing some other champions leave the meta now in the bot lane with the Jinx Aphelios meta. You know, that was very. I was very happy to see that as a casual viewer, just to see some more diversity in the bot lane as a bot lane player myself, and then also the AP Kai'Sa mid lane mini rework as well, taking that damage away from her W and shifting that more into her on hit.
Thank God.
Yeah,
That was unironically the most unenjoyable solo queue champion I've ever played against.
It was so miserable, and I'm so happy it was never like so good that the pros played it every game.
Yeah.
Well, they tried to, but I don't think it was ever like especially strong in pro play.
Yeah, Faker tried to innovate it, and then everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, like this is actually a thing." And
this,
then
this is the next big thing.
yeah, it's like, "Oh, boom, Kai'Sa W." It's like, "Oh, my HP's gone now. Oh my gosh."
And I couldn't even see her.
Yeah, and you ult, and I'm just I'm dead. But yeah, I'm glad to see some of these champs come out. What other champs do you think have been or like haven't been played that like you'd want to see more of, or teams like give a chance to?
I definitely want to see more Kindred. I loved that Kindred pick by T1. I think T1 drafts remain the most entertaining drafts to watch because they're just able to do what they want to do. They're just better.
They picked like Wukong and Rumble support so far. Like, I mean, they'll just play whatever they want, wherever they want it.
Was there like a spicy bot lane that happened? Like a G2 bot lane? Did they pick Senna Sion again? Was that what happened?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly.
Like that's
I
sort
wanna
of
see more
old
Pyke.
news, but I think it's entertaining. I remember the T1 Pyke pick.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really good carry. I was so good on Pyke.
Yeah. I mean, I'm better than him, but
Oh.
it's pretty close.
I love
Humble
watching-
flex.
He's the second best Pyke player in the world.
Yeah. So what, Targamas is number no, Hillsong I think is number 3 then.
Yeah.
Number
something
4,
like that.
I don't know.
Gary's just the best support. So.
Yeah, I love watching Pyke. Pyke is such a fun champ to watch.
Yeah.
Because it's like you can roam like super fast and just like I don't know. I just like hook champions and play and like being able to be like, oh, caught you out there,
Yep.
and just being able to like punish that. Very entertaining to watch.
Yeah, having those two different pairings of like a hook champion that can also be anywhere, anytime,
Yeah.
completely invisible. You know, it's like
I mean, hook champions have very much just like been sort of the flavor for players for I think a couple of seasons at this point. Like we see so much Nautilus, so much Leona, and then a decent amount of Rakan, decent amount of Rel, and like these champions that are sort of engaged tanks. They're really popular because they enable your teammates to play champions that don't require you that require frontline and like Nautilus, Leona, these champions are pretty safe to play. You just go in and then you use your full combo and then you Zhonya's and then you let your team do the work. And so I think, as much as I, don't love playing that style of champion, I think it makes perfect sense why they're really popular right now. And it does lead to more exciting games usually because instead of like the Ardent Sensor meta, if anybody remembers that, we're not seeing a bunch of Enchanters, and that means that the games are usually a bit faster. We're not seeing these 50-minute bangers. We're seeing, 25, 30 minutes. Sometimes they go really long, like the G2 T1 game. But I think from a, they make the games more exciting when the meta looks like this for support and bot lane.
Yeah, for sure. And I also think not a lot of Western players as well, or like what we see actually play Enchanters. I remember I feel like we always touch on Cloud9 now, but like to go back, like, it was Berserker and Winsome. I think Winsome didn't know how to like play like any enchanters, or like didn't like want to play any enchanters or whatever. Like just this like whole like enchant like if there was an enchanter meta, then I think like a lot of people would be screwed or like not want to play. Just be like, let's.
It might come, right? A few weeks.
Yeah. The big
durability update.
Changes. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
Where we're gonna get those 50-minute bangers.
I'm so ready for it. Yeah. I'm so happy that they're toning down healing, shielding, and overall damage in the game. I think it's gonna be a really nice, if nothing else, a really nice shakeup that I feel like Season 12 was lacking overall, because all we got was 2 Drakes, which became 1 Drake, and that was really.
Don't forget the teleport change.
We got the TP change.
Couple new items.
That was, although to be fair, that was huge for bot lane, because I can actually hit a hook at level 3 and not get Camille in my lane. I'm so like. I'm
the
so
5-man
happy about that.
It felt so weird as like, I don't know, because I'll like sometimes like play like a just top for whatever reason, want to spice it up. I'm like, yeah, bot lane sucks now or whatever. I'm gonna like play top. And yeah, that TP change felt like so weird, because like I remember at first being like, oh, there's like a defensive ward or whatever, or the 2 pushed up in lane and be like, oh no, like I can't do this, whatever. Like obviously you can still like TP and protect any like bot lane dives early on, but like you're gonna lose so much after that now. So yeah, I mean, I think in hindsight, like that was like a good change and like it needed to happen, because it kind of slowed the game down early, right?
So it just took a lot of agency away from bot lane. I'm also really glad, like I'm really happy with the timing that Riot Games went with for the update to roll out, because I would have been, I'm glad they didn't do it right before MSI, because I'm excited to see what MSI, I mean we sort of have a good idea now what MSI meta is, and I'll be curious to see, come Worlds in 6 months, how different the meta is after the durability change, if it'll be super different, or if by the time, Worlds rolls around for this year, we'll see a bunch of compensation buffs on assassin champions, on these champions that might struggle initially with the new update. So I think, looking at the before and after will be interesting.
For sure.
I think we're going to see a lot of champions building Black Cleaver.
Oh, man. Riven coming back? I don't know. That's the only
Dude, it'd be so hyped to see some Rivens in pro play.
I know. It feels like everyone gets their, like, all these, like really good top laners kind of get their start being like, yeah, like Riven one trick or whatever. But, I mean, look at Broken Blade. I mean, that's his name for like, Nevin's sake or whatever, where it's like, yeah, the Broken Blade, right? That Riven player. But, can't see that, right? Riven mains are pretty salty, though. Sorry. I just have...
Get it out. Get it out. Yep, get it out.
Yeah.
This is a safe space.
My friend Jack sucks, and his Riven sucks too. I'm kidding. Shout out Jack. Yeah, but in terms of, like, other picks, surprised and just disappointed no one wants to pick up Fiddlesticks. I think Fiddlesticks is just always in this like really good spot, but like you have to really play around him. Like the only person who I could really see playing it is like Inspired, like. Dude,
I bet Owner's gonna mean Fiddlesticks.
I could see that coming out. Yeah.
I don't think he'll ever pick it, but I bet he has a nasty fiddle.
I bet so, right? I mean, the only big fiddle play I can remember in like for so long was Inspired when he was on Rogue, right? And I think they were playing like Misfits, and it was the play that Medic was casting, where it's like, here comes the Crow Storm, 5-man fiddle ultimate or whatever. Like, this cham's awesome. And it's like we never see it again, and they keep like trying to like mini buff him, and like no one wants to play around Fiddlesticks. And yeah, I mean, people are more open to playing Karthus, so has like an AP
carry, right?
Or just like, I mean, you could play like I guess like in the. Sorry, when I hear AP carry, I think like bot lane or whatever. Like but like I mean, he has like a really fast clear speed now. Yeah. He's been like pick banned a lot. I mean, hasn't been like too impactful in the MSI, I would say, but I mean, I guess the like go-to AP jungler right now is Diana.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Definitely a lot of popularity with this sort of Diana Yasuo, as we touched on earlier. I think a reason why it's so popular is also it's really easy to execute. Like, you just pick that comp and you try to hit as many people as you can with your ultimates, and then you just
the 2-button wombo, yeah.
Yeah, definitely a strength of that comp.
Yeah, I hated when EG played it though.
I didn't play it very well.
They made it look fair.
Yeah, I know. I think G2 tweeted out after it's all, thank you for making this look balanced or whatever. Because Inspired was trying everything that he could possibly do to get a Diana ultimate off, and then like Impact, just the savior of EG right now, just like snipping in like the front line, just being like, how much damage can I do before I die? And then finally they get an ult off, and then JoJo's right there. But like, yeah.
I think the wonder of the G2 comp is that every champion had a knock-up.
Mm-hmm.
Even their ADC.
Yeah. Yep.
It was great.
Is it time for the Tristana rant?
I think it is. I
think we're about wrapping up. So if you wanna give us your Trist rant.
Let's hear
Okay,
it.
as someone who, again, silver analyst here, but plays a lot of Tristana, right? I think I have like an 80% Tristana like win rate, a little bit of credibility here in the low ranks or whatever. Clearly, I'd probably get like pooped on or whatever in higher levels. But when I see this Trist pick come out, Gumayushi, we're talking about the G2 T1 game, right?
Okay.
So Gumayushi hovers Jinx, hovers Draven, and then picks Tristana into Ornn with Ornn knockup, Diana knockup, Yasuo knockup, Rakan knockup, and Kalista, who can pull someone out if with Kalista ultimate, if there's a bad situation, which like you're gonna be able to like actually get in the front line, right?
And then not only that, but also go back in and also have a knockup as well.
Yeah, like oh my god. So like essentially this comp needs to dive, and you need to like have this Tristana be able to just kind of like focus on one target, not get knocked up at all, and just carry the game. They had to win through early game, and it seemed like they were doing that, right? They took the first bot tower, moved Gumayushi up to the top tower, and then we're able to take like all these plates on that. But just like I'm like this whole entire time, like if there's an actual team fight, what is this Tristana gonna do? Obviously, because Tristana passive with her range, like the more like the higher level you actually are, you're able to like poke easier. But like there's these team fights where this Tristana would just not do anything at all, and Gumayushi, right? Like Gumayushi has like killer instinct. Like Gumayushi's like best of the best. Like I trust him with my life. If I needed a game to play or whatever, it's like you gotta win this game. Gumayushi Carrier, like they're the best, right? But like every time I go in, it'd be a Diana ultimate or like a Rakan knockup. It'd be like this Tristana literally like couldn't do anything. It was so frustrating, right? Where Tristana has to be the main focus of this game when Tristana is like when they're going into a late game, because they're like, okay, we're kind of like stagnating. We're up 5k gold at 15 minutes. We're up 5k gold at like 20, I think it was like 20 or 25 minutes. Like even though they had so much gold put on this Tristana, right? Like Gumayushi was supposed to be the one to carry the game, but like, oh my god, dude! Like it just every fight. There was a fight around Baron where
There's one moment when he jumped in.
yeah,
There's a chance for a reset.
Exactly.
I was like up in my seat.
yeah,
I was
it's
like,
all,
oh my
here,
gosh.
here we go, fight around Baron, chance for a reset. Oh wait, Rakan, Ornn, everything. It was like dun 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 dun, like falling down the stairs or something like that. That's how much like Gumayushi was getting knocked up. And every preceding fight after that, Gumayushi was out of it. Like I'd be interested to watch like or to look at the damage charts after that fight, because it was like Tristana just couldn't get in, and when Tristana did try to get in, it was like, nope, you're just gonna get knocked up so much. And so it sucked to see like even someone like me be like, I hate this Tristana pick, right? And maybe it's like just hopium because I'm like, yeah, dude, like I don't like this Tristana pick, and then it didn't work, and I'm like, yes, I was right. Gumayushi, you were wrong, right? But just like, gosh, I feel like T1 could have won that game. I hate to say this, even if it was Jinx. Like Jinx obviously got nerfed, and like early game Jinx is like a lot worse than what Jinx used to be. But like just they need, or like Ezreal, like they needed someone who was just like able to just like kind of poke from the back line, because like if they weren't able to actually get on Gumayushi, especially with how fed Gumayushi was, like that game was over. And so it sucks to see like the best team in the world make such like a mistake that even I'm calling it out. Mm-hmm. Like that shouldn't, like I feel like that shouldn't happen, and I don't think it's gonna happen again. I just think that Tristana was this pick where it's like people are talking about it like, yes, Tristana's this like Tristana did get buffed. Tristana is like really good into the, like these team comps in which you're able to just kind of like jump in, jump back out, like able to like hit really tanky champions and kind of melt them with Giant Slayer. But gosh, the whole entire game, I first time I posted in the league like section of the Discord, because I don't know, I don't really talk there, really rant there. Mm-hmm. I'm just like at like 2 a.m. being all, this Trist pick sucks, dude. I can't, like, oh my gosh. So Yeah, silver analysts telling the best team in the world by far what they actually need to do. So
absolutely. So closing thoughts. Hunter hates Tristana picks from T1.
Yeah. Never
Evil
played again.
Genius is gonna win after they solo kill Faker mid. T1 is still the best team in the world, but G2's made it interesting. I don't know if anybody has any final thoughts they want to add to that.
I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah. EG do or die against PSG. If you want to see EG actually make it to fourth, I think they got to beat PSG. And whoever wins that game, I think is going to take fourth. And it's going to be T1, RNG, and G2 as 1, 2, and 3. Not in any order, though, because I think obviously G2's in a really good spot now that you beat both T1 and RNG. So we could see T1 maybe scrape out like a second place. But then again, that would probably be RNG at third. So I think G2 RNG is pretty much like a given.
Yeah.
But yeah, exciting stuff. I hope to see more banger games. That's for sure. So
I'm excited for the final stage for sure. Anybody want to shout themselves out? Follow me on Twitter. I'm at FunPhoenix. Don't spell it properly though.
Hunter the Gamer. That's with middle school names. I hate it. Why was te instead of the like popular then?
Misspelled.
Yeah, that's true. But
at least your name is pronounceable.
That's true.
Yeah,
that is true.
Yep.
Yeah, so just Hunter Gamer, any platforms. I go by HNTR sometimes, even though the person who has the name on League hasn't been online for like a year now. I want the name.
Yep.
So yeah,
I feel that.
But yeah.
Shout myself out. Bro named Skelly on Twitch. I stream like once every other month. So cool. If you see me once in a blue moon, come swing by.
Heck yeah. Drake, you got anything to chat out?
I have no socials. I'll just plug LOL Dodge Game if you want to play like Gumayushi. Just LOL Dodge Game online. It's great.
Oh my gosh. All right, and that has been all from us. Thank you all for tuning in. This has been the first of maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe just 1 MSI 2022 podcast. We hope you all enjoyed, and stick around if you want more content later. See you all.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Boom. We're done.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
Cash.